Hey guys, how we doing? We're back and we're talking about Italian and French Renaissance theater. The concept with this one are the foundations of modern theater. We're talking about commercial theater, theater spaces which are completely redesigned, and congratulations. The use of women on stage, finally, comparable pay, and they get to perform on stage, it's been long enough, finally. During this time, we have the neoclassicist ideal. We have people rediscovering the concept that man is the measure of all things, going back to Greece, because that's what Greece was the concept we had with the Greeks. They go back to Greece and to Rome to find inspiration for their thoughts, their art, their literature, transportation. This time of Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and Donatello and all these beautiful, amazing artists. The neoclassicist ideal, the new classics, going back to the classics. The Italian Renaissance has a beautiful word by the name of verisimilitude. It means what is truth, or truth seeming. The people of the Italian Renaissance asked themselves this question as referring to art and the human experience. The Medici family was a prosperous and powerful Italian family that financed artists and scientists during the Italian Renaissance. They had 3 popes in their family. My family's lucky that we got 3 college graduates, you know what I'm saying? They would employ artists such as Michelangelo, Donatello, and scientists such as Galileo to be the tutors to their family. Galileo actually named some of the moons of Jupiter after the Medici family. So they financed the arts in the Italian Renaissance, which is a beautiful and amazing thing to do. And without them, there is debate whether or not the Italian Renaissance would have been as prosperous as it was. So many, many thanks to them. And it just shows how important the arts are to document and to archive what our society is going through, and also to appreciate the human condition. Different types of productions during this time. We have Commedia Erudita. I know this is in the book, and what it is, it's learned theater, very academic, very low production value, but it very simply, and sparsely showcases the theater of the time. This was one style. Also, we had tragicomedy, and these were serious plays with comic parts, but they raised complex questions about life and love, and everything seemed to be tumultuous what was going to happen, and then there were last minute revelations that kind of left everything a little bit better than it was beforehand, but it left the audience disquieted. So it didn't sit right with them, but it was toward the desired outcome. And we have plays and movies and entertainments like that today, and hopefully it makes you think and you carry it with you. So it's not entirely comic, not entirely tragic. You get a little salt with your sugar, you know what I'm saying? That's tragicomedy. And we also have intermezzi, and I know this is in the book. Intermezzi is very similar to the interludes of the English Renaissance. You can go back to the medieval time, the court masks from the English Renaissance. Intermezzi, variety entertainment, a lot of singing. Usually the intermezzi were homages, or they honored the person who was presenting the play, who was producing the play. They were elaborate compliments to that as well. Kind of like the Super Bowl halftime show. You have the game beforehand, then you have this incredible, amazing showcase in the middle of it, and then you go back to playing the game. And I know a lot of people who tune into the Super Bowl just to watch the halftime show or the commercials during that as well. I love the game myself personally, but I know there are people who want to see just that entertainment and that spectacle, that wow factor, and that's what the intermezzi was. Now, coming out of the intermezzi, we have what's called drama and musica. It evolved out of intermezzi and Greek tragedy. It was an attempt to recreate the link between speech and music, as it was done with the Greek tragedy. So they go back and they add these beautiful complements of music to accompany the arc of the story. And eventually it evolved into what we call today as opera. So very lyrical, very high emotions of, very good, very bad, and, just so passionate and beautiful. That's drama and musica. I know I'm flying through this, but this is, read the book. They take care of all that stuff into account as well. But you'll see this in the book. Also during this time, the Commedia dell'arte flourished. And when we talk about the Commedia dell'arte, it's basically a rehearsed framework. It's comic business within a rehearsed framework. Improvisation that occurs during the courses of a rehearsed play. And we usually think of it as being very funny, anything done for laughs, kind of farcical, very farcical, but at the same time being very intelligent. We have three different categories of characters in the Commedia dell'arte. You have the lovers, who did not wear masks. They were usually dressed in the fashions of the time, and they were usually ingenues, very young women or young boys who would fall in love with each other. And they were usually the sons and daughters of the masters. Now, the masters, they did wear masks, and we have three different categories of them. Capitano, who was a braggart, a very big person who was usually in the military, very strong bravado. Also, we have the dottore, who we would think was very intelligent, very smart, but on the inside really knew nothing about what he was talking about. He kind of blathered along in fake Latin that he made up. Also, we have another one of the masters would be Pantalone, and he was the old man who would protect his money at all costs, kind of like your Mr. Burns in The Simpsons, or your foolish old man who was very rich but like a miser, almost like Scrooge as well, for Christmas time, sort of thing. They did wear masks, and depending on how long the nose was on the mask, meant how stupid that they were. The longer the nose, the dumber the character. So if they had a short nose, they were very intelligent characters, which brings us to the servants. The servants also wore masks, but they had very short noses because they were usually smarter than the masters. Of the three servants that we can name, we have Harlequin, also known as the Arlecchino, the Brigella, and the Pulcinello. And these are all broken down for you in your book, and you've seen them before. Pretty good pictures, or you can Google that as well, and you'll be able to find these things there. Hopefully, I'm just giving you a little bit of insight. The servants were also known by the name Zani, Z-A-N-N-I, and that's where we get the word zany from. The servants were zany. I think the next thing on the worksheet is the word Lazzi, L-A-Z-Z-I, and that is comic stage business. It's just comic business that they incorporated into the course of the play. If somebody like gets into a wrestling match with their shirt, and we're like, it starts to itch them, and then all of a sudden it kind of, jerks them around or something like that, and it seems that the shirt comes to life, or something like that. Or if your keys get stuck on your finger and you can't get it on, and can't get them off, and as you put on your glasses and you put them on the right way, and there's a Lazzi there, and they fall down, and you're like, what the heck? I don't need these anyway. So there you go. So that sort of thing. That's kind of Lazzi. Those were both really bad Lazzis, but now you have an idea. The three Lazzis that we talk about in this class, and I have an example of sack Lazzi. It's you might rabbit, you might. Beautiful example of sack Lazzi. Sack Lazzi. A servant character, sometimes Arlecchino, persuades a master character, sometimes Pantalone, to hide in a sack that the servant will carry to safety so that his master can avoid a bully that has been pursuing him. The servant then assumes the voice of the bully, frightens and eventually beats the sack's occupant. There are many variations on the sack Lazzi. So basically, the person in the sack always got punished without knowing who was the one who did it. So the servant tells the master, get in the sack, I'm going to carry you to safety. And then he assumes the voice, beats up the sack, then pretends to leave. He says, come on out, boss, see what happens. And then the master says, thanks, it would have been a lot worse if they had got me, but it was the servant the whole time. That's sack Lotzi. Next we have fight Lotzi. Two servants loudly threaten each other, but are visibly relieved to be held back by others. A capitano enters and officiously orders them to stop quarrel. The servants are released, and under the pretense of striking at each other, give the capitano a beating. So, keep me back, I don't want to get into a fight. Somebody gonna keep me back? Yeah, because I would hurt you, man. That sort of thing. And then our third Lotzi is fear Lotzi. Lotzi involving extreme fear was also common, although the causes for the fear varied widely. And these Lotzi characters sometimes think they see a ghost, or a character comes upon what he takes to be a dead body, and trying to flee is grabbed around the ankle by the supposed corpse, and while a character's attention is distracted, someone repeatedly removes or deposits objects. In all these cases, the events are usually magnified by some prior event that suggests to the character that something mysterious is going on, or that danger is near. His response usually builds until it reaches a climax. If you are, and I hope you are, a fan of the Three Stooges, Moe, Larry, and Curly are hired as movers. They go to this big house and they think it might be haunted. And Moe makes himself a sandwich and he puts it down on the table and he leaves the room. And then Curly comes walking in. What are we? Oh, a sandwich. Don't mind if I do. Takes a bite, puts it down, walks out of the room. Moe comes walking back in and he's like, I'll take a wow. Someone took a bite of my sandwich. Holy mackerel. Puts it down, walks out of the room. Curly comes walking back in, takes another bite, walks out of the room. Moe comes walking back in, sees 2 bites out of his sandwich. He thinks that there's a ghost in there. He freaks out, goes crazy. And then he comes to find out that it was Curly the whole time. Then he beats up Curly. That sort of thing. Also, the movie Weekend at Bernie's. 2 guys go out to the Hamptons with their boss. The boss dies, but the guys want to have a good time, so they stick around and they, go all around the Hamptons with this dead body. It's a take on Fear Lotzi because nobody else knows that he's really dead, and it's supposed to be very funny. So there you go. Those are. Let's see. What time we got? We're at 12 and a half minutes. Good. Check out the YouTubes that I have set up for that as well. Theater. I know this is in the book. Changes to the theater space. Rectangular in design. We have the proscenium arch, which is used to frame the stage picture. We have wings, which is the area off to both sides of the stage. We have borders, which shutter in and frame the picture within the proscenium. Shutters and drops used for quick changes. On one side of the shutters, they would paint one scene, the other, and then they flip them up for very quick scene changes. A clear design of the acting area. Actors were on one side, and then the audience was separated from them. Clear design of the audience area. 3 different sections. The box seats where the well-to-do sat. Cheaper seats were down in front of people who weren't worried about social status. We had the gallery, which were the cheapest seats of all, and audiences didn't mix. So you had your people who were in the box seats where the well-to-do sat. You had your pit, where people who weren't so worried about reputation sat. And then you had the gallery, which is where the cheapest seats were. And once again, the proscenium was developed to frame the stage picture. Also, the playwright and the play we associate with this time that accentuates the Italian Renaissance feeling, Commedia dell'arte, is The Servant of Two Masters by Carlo Goldini. Thanks.